Hey, what's up you guys? Aaron here from cleverprogrammer.com. And in this video, we're going to be going over the top 3 programming languages that you should learn in 2020 if you're a beginner. All right, so I'm gonna be going through this video based on a big assumption, and that is that you are new to coding or you're a complete beginner or something, because if you're advanced and experienced, I don't know why you'd be here besides entertainment. Hopefully you enjoy it. But to get actual value out of this kind of topic, I think you probably need to be a beginner. So I'm just gonna go on that assumption, all right? If you don't know me, I am a software developer here at Clever Programmer. I've been here for about a year now. I'm currently a Georgia Tech graduate student studying AI. Yeah, I just wanna take my stab at this top 3 programming language video, because a lot of the other ones that I see kind of just say like, hey, these are the top 3 languages for these reasons, blah, blah, blah. Just go pick one and go do it, all right? But for me, I kind of wanted to make something a little bit more comprehensive for a beginner. So instead of, oh, top 3 and then pick these and go whatever, I'm actually gonna pick 3 languages that I think you should learn first and in a specific order to fully set you up to be a software developer, whether you wanna be a freelancer or a full-time developer or whatever. So I'm actually gonna be giving you like a roadmap as a beginner, and I think that's actually the best. I'll also be giving a little bit of context with things because I know you're a beginner, so like when I use certain words, I'll explain a little bit, just enough to kind of so you're not fully confused, but I'm not gonna be going into depth. I'll just be focusing on the languages and why they're good. You might get a little bit lost with some of the words, but just follow along and take my word for it, and hopefully by the end of it, you'll understand why I think this is the best roadmap for you. And then right after this video, just jump in and start coding, all right? That's why you're here, right? So without any further ado, let's get started.
Before we get started though, before we jump into it, I want to tell you that we have an epic free 3-part masterclass that teaches you how to go from being a complete beginner in programming, not knowing anything if you've never written a single line of code, and the steps you can take to become a 6-figure freelancer or a software developer. So if you want to learn how to go from there to there, click the link in the description down below. It should be down there. You just got to pop in your email address and your name, and we'll send you an email to the login page for that, and you can access it completely for free. And it ends with an exclusive webinar if you want to check that out too after the 3 parts. So I guess it's kind of like a 4-part masterclass, but definitely check it out. All right, it's just a lot of free value, and just we want to offer that to you, so check it out.
All right, you guys, so I want to let you know that this video is sponsored by Skillshare. Skillshare is a website, kind of more like a community of creatives and intellectuals that can create courses for each other. Okay, so you go in there and then you can post your courses, whatever. You can take courses. You can actually sign up as an instructor, but I mean, usually you'd be taking the courses yourself. But you can go in there and you can learn things on any topic, pretty much. Anything really, I mean, including like software development. So you can learn things like there's some Java courses in there. There's probably JavaScript courses as well as Python courses if you want to go through there. You can learn other things like photography and like pretty much anything that you want. But basically it's just a community where you can really dive into your passions no matter what industry it's in, whatever hobby you have, and you can just go in and check it out. Okay, so there's a bunch there. Just go check it out. They just rebranded their whole website. It looks really clean and nice. It was different like last month, right? It was like different last month, but it looks great now. So go check it out. It's like nice and juicy and fresh for 2020. Props to Skillshare for that. It's pretty cheap too. Like I think there's subscriptions for like less than $10 a month or something if you want to do that. However, because you're watching this video and because they're a sponsor, if you click the link in the description, then you can actually get 2 completely free months of premium membership to really explore whatever creative endeavors that you're interested in your life. Okay, so I mean, it doesn't hurt. Just try out 2 free months, and yeah, just click on the link in the description. You're good to go. So check out Skillshare. So programming language number 1. The first one I think you should learn if you're a beginner is definitely Python, okay? So Python is a very general purpose, very clean, very minimalistic, very easy, high level language. And basically what that means is it's just very beginner friendly, okay? So most of my classes at Georgia Tech right now, I'm actually using Python for whatever it is, just because you can get your ideas into code the fastest. You don't have to worry about like computery stuff. There's like you don't have to like allocate your memory like other programming languages. You actually have to be like, hey, save this much memory, like save 1 megabyte of memory over here, like save this, and then I'm gonna put like a few numbers in there. Okay, cool, save it for later, do some computations over here in this memory, and then come back and get it back and then wipe it clean. Like you have to do that manually, like, oh, allocate this and that, like in C or C++. But and a little bit less so in other languages, like as you get more higher level up, but Python is the most high level one and clean and just the best to use. All right, it's the best one to get your hands dirty with code, and you can learn all about like the biggest ideas in programming, and then you'll just kind of have like a big overall understanding of what programming really is, and then you can go forward with that. So another great thing about Python is once you know Python, I mean, if you know the basics, then I mean, it's kind of useless, to be honest. Like you can do things, but to actually like be a full-blown developer after programming languages, you must learn further things like frameworks, libraries, and other things like algorithms, and how to connect to APIs, and how to do version control, which is like saving copies of your code, like so you can go back, and like how to develop on a team. Like there's so many other things past just learning a programming language that you need to know to actually be successful as a developer. Once you know Python, it's really cool because with Python, you can do so many things. You can do web development with frameworks like Django or Flask. All a framework is, I'll explain really quick if you don't know what that word means. It's just, you learn Python, you have these things like how do you code in Python, like core Python. And then on top of Python, they add like more like code things that you have to learn, but it's in Python, so you understand how everything works, but there's just like some extra stuff piled onto it. It's like advanced Python, I guess. And then within that framework, you can develop even more cool things. But like before you can learn the framework, you gotta learn the language. So you can do web development with Python, but you can also do a lot of data science things and scientific computing with libraries like NumPy, which is like numeric Python, or SciPy, which is like science Python, or Pandas, which is a library where you can do a lot of like number crunching, or data science like machine learning. You can use PyTorch or TensorFlow and frameworks like those, libraries like those to do things down the road. So once you know Python, you're basically set up to branch out to other things down the road once you have gotten a little bit more experience. So Python's definitely the best. Start with that. Oh, and the last thing also, it's great for coding interviews, because if you want to get a job at a big tech company like a FANG company, then Python is a very popular language to do the coding interviews is, because you can implement things very quickly, cleanly, and they accept Python. It's very well established, all right? All right, so that was the first one, Python. If you want to shortcut your path on actually making a profit with Python, then we have a free 3-part masterclass on how you can go from 0 to 6 figures potentially with as a Python full stack web developer. Jump in there, it's free, just check it out. We also have free Python courses on our own channels. If you want to learn Python, you can learn from us for free. Okay, we have multiple courses of 2021, go check it out. I'm in a lot of that, so check it out. You can learn the Python basics there. So yeah, just check out that stuff. We have a lot of stuff on Python. That's kind of what this channel's about, so go learn it. And yeah, now we're gonna be going on to the next language. So after you're done learning Python, okay, you might want to branch into maybe a framework or two if you're curious. But if you just want to start learning a second language, which I actually think is a good idea, because then you can kind of understand the general idea of programming. You're not just like stuck in like, oh, Python, write these words and letters and numbers and I can do this thing. Oh, I understand this. But then if you understand how to do the same thing, like if you can write the same program in Python and a second language, then your brain starts understanding coding as a whole, instead of just, oh, I get Python, it's, oh, I get coding, which is actually what you want, because there's always new languages coming up, but I think this is the best course to go. So going on to programming language number 2. This is going to be JavaScript. So after you're done learning Python, okay, JavaScript is number 2. And the reason for that is because JavaScript is a language of the web, okay? It's a programming language that is deeply ingrained in like the internet. So on web pages, like web pages are ran on JavaScript. If there's anything animated or anything like interactive on a web page or website, it's run by JavaScript, okay? And another thing that you should know is like 50% or more of all developer jobs are web development. So if you want to get a job as a software developer, you're gonna need web development, okay? You're gonna need JavaScript. You're gonna need to know this to actually be able to succeed. This is because probably like a lot of like businesses and other things and the things that run the world, like they want it to be online, like businesses want websites, people want to be able to distribute things across the internet and everything. So everything is web-based now. It's gonna be going more and more there. So you're definitely gonna wanna learn JavaScript, okay? One caveat though to JavaScript is you will not understand JavaScript. Well, I mean, you can't like fully use JavaScript to its fullest potential if you do not know HTML and CSS, okay? So actually these 3 languages as a whole, I'm actually packaging them as number 2. So a little caveat there, but you need to know HTML to know how web pages are built, and then CSS to make CSS to know how the web pages look, so you can like style them, and then JavaScript to add in functionality and code to it. So you're gonna need to know all 3. So actually number 2, and you should learn them in this order, is learn HTML, then CSS, then JavaScript. So learn Python first and then these 3 in that order, all right? What's great about JavaScript though is there are a lot of really, really great frameworks that have been coming up in recent years that allow you to build full applications from using just JavaScript. So there's something in software development called full stack development, and all that means is like you have a full stack to something. which means like on the top you have your front end, which is like how stuff looks on the screen to the user, and then like in the middle of the stack you might have like some processing and stuff, and then on the bottom of the stack you might have like a database where like data is stored, where you can like shuffle around data, retrieve data like Instagram posts from your account, and then display it to the screen. That's the front end, but then like storing it is the back end. So when you have front end plus back end, then you have everything is called a full stack web developer. What's cool about JavaScript though is, although you can do web development with Python, with Django and Flask and stuff, you can't be like a fully fledged full stack web developer if you don't know JavaScript. But with JavaScript, you can actually be a complete full stack web developer from end to end, like from all the way down to the bottom. Like there's frameworks you can use, like for the front end on JavaScript, you can use frameworks like React or Angular.js or Vue.js. Look those up if you're curious. And then for your backend, you can also use like something like Node.js to get it done. So you can have like, you can hold like some data in a database or whatever you need. When I say .js, it means .javascript, okay? So these are just frameworks you're gonna learn. After you learn core JavaScript, you can go on and learn these frameworks on top of it. Feel free to branch out and learn those if you're interested when you hit it. But I think you should definitely learn JavaScript, HTML, CSS, and JavaScript second, right after you've learned Python, because the web is the future and it's just so versatile. And Python web development with Django and Flask plus JavaScript and all these frameworks makes a killer combo. So you're gonna be like set up after just learning these two languages, and then I guess HTML and CSS, they're not languages, but they're like supplemental things that you need to learn. Then you'll be set up to be a full stack web developer and go on. And one other cool thing is with these web frameworks and things like React Native, you can actually create kind of hybrid mobile apps, even if you want to get into that. But mobile app development's a little bit advanced, so I don't want to mention that here. I wouldn't recommend getting into that first. It's fun, but I would actually recommend going with Python first and just learning how to code on a computer before you get into like all this crazy Swift stuff or Flutter or anything. But on the third language that I'm going to go into, I do touch on it a little bit, so we're going to get to that shortly. So after you have learned Python and HTML and CSS and JavaScript, if you haven't already like gotten interested and like went off to learn your own frameworks and completely forgot about this video and did your own thing, I think the third language that you should learn is definitely Java, okay? So yes, Java and JavaScript sound similar. They're not really that related at all, that much, maybe a little bit. I don't know the details exactly, but you can pretty much treat them as completely different languages, okay? Just know that they sound similar, but they're actually distinct, okay? So just ignore the names. It should be named something different in my opinion, but maybe there's some like connection that I don't know about, but it's never been relevant to me. So I mean, it's probably not relevant to you because I've been coding 8 years. But the reason I go into Java is because actually this was my first language that I learned when I was in undergraduate in college. It's a very academic language, and the reason for that is I think it's an interesting middle ground. I still think Python's better to learn first, but Java is not bad. The reason being is it's a little bit easier to use, but it's not super low level, but you still get your hands a little bit dirty with some other things that are really important with software development in general. Things like compiling or like typing your data. I'm gonna explain these a little bit briefly so you understand what they mean, but you don't have to worry about this in Python, okay? And a little bit in JavaScript, but not as much. Like Python is like non-existent, you have to worry about it. JavaScript a little bit, but then Java is like a bit more. And then like if you go like to C or C++, you have to like handle all of it like crazy, but let's not worry about that. We're focusing on Java. So what typing is like when you have data in your code, then you might want to, oh, all right, we got a little doggy here, spooked me. But come on, Kingston, what's up? So typing in a couple sentences is pretty much just like you have data in a computer, okay, but there's like different types of data. Like you might want to save the word clever programmer, like the phrase clever programmer, that's data. You can save that as a string or something, or you might want to save the number 10, okay? Like those are two different data types that can be housed in the computer. And then it's just I mean, everything's ones and zeros at like the lowest level, okay? It's like, it's just circuits and electricity in the computer, but it's structured a certain way so that the computer can understand it. And in Java, you actually have to specify these things, but then you also have more control, okay? And things are a little bit more like, you have more control over it versus Python where you don't have to even worry about this stuff. Also compiling your code. So like I said, like computers runs on ones and zeros, like you should probably know that. If you don't, then, well, now you do. something like you're writing your code, right? So writing code, which is just words, like literally just words. You could write code in like a text document, like Microsoft Word or Pages if you're on Mac, or just like whatever. And you could write code on paper. It's just letters and numbers, okay, streamed together. But then how does the computer understand that? What you have to do is you have to take the code that you wrote, and then you run a program that interprets and reads that and changes that to ones and zeros pretty much. It goes through multiple levels, but that's called compiling your code into something that the computer will understand. It's like, here's a bunch of ones and zeros, run all these ones and zeros. So you don't have to worry about that in Python. Like everything is it just runs nice and cleanly. So you don't have to worry about these low level, like nasty things, but it's very important that you do learn them to be a full-fledged software developer. And that's why I think Java should be third and not first. Because it was a little bit frustrating for me, and it's like uglier, and there's more like weird use cases, and it's just like, ugh. It is very good for being portable, which means, which is a word we use in software development, that you can code one program in Java and it can run on many different things. So you can run it on a computer, like a Windows, a Mac, a phone, a smart TV, a refrigerator, like those kinds of things. It's very portable because it can be portable to different platforms, like those things. Okay, it's like the Internet of Things. I mean, most of those are actually coded in C, so that's a bad example. But it's just an example that like Java is very portable, more portable than some other languages. All right, so one other thing is Java is actually a language that you can use to do Android mobile development. So mobile development is a little bit more advanced. You definitely want to. Hi. Somebody's walking by, a little girl. Yeah, Java, you can actually use it for Android mobile development. I mean, Kotlin has taken over in recent years, but you can still use Java to get your hands dirty in mobile. And you definitely want to learn how to do native mobile development, because you could do things like using web apps and stuff to make a kind of hybrid mobile app. But if you're going to be serious about mobile development, you definitely want to learn how to actually code on the local platform. Because when you're making an app, you want it to be as high quality as possible. You don't want this like wishy-washy hybrid thing. Okay, so it'll work for some things, but like true mobile development, you're gonna want to learn to get into it. Honestly, you should probably learn Kotlin if you want to get into Android, or Swift if you want to get into iOS, or Flutter, which is an up and coming one. Still needs to be a little bit more established. But I mean, if you know Java, and I think it's still the best language to learn third, to learn all these things like memory management and blah 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 and things, then at least you can go down that avenue a little bit, and then you might want to pick up Swift or something down the line. But I think after you've learned Java, you'll have so much experience in coding after you learn all these languages that you can really make your own decisions. You can start learning frameworks. There's endless frameworks. You'll never learn them all. You might have a job already. You might be in school. But like, I think your path from this point on will be just kind of very self-defined. You'll define it yourself. I think that sums it up pretty much for Java. It's more of like a legacy kind of language, very academic based. You can also use Java for interviews. It's very useful if you need to pass things like on using LeetCode, but I would probably use like Python over Java just because it's better. But I mean, you have the option. Like if you just happen to like Java better, then you can definitely use those. LeetCode is a website. Just check it out. It's a very good place to like practice how to get past coding interviews if you want to get jobs at FANG companies like Facebook, Google, Netflix, Apple, whatever you want, like anything big, Microsoft, etc. Instagram, Snapchat. So Java is definitely number 3. And lastly, I just want to mention that the reason I didn't put anything more modern in a 2020 up-to-date programming language video is because I actually don't think it's a good idea to learn new languages first when you're a beginner, because there isn't as much support on the internet. So yeah, Flutter is really cool. I think like learning Flutter first could be super cool. Learning Swift first could be super cool and fun. But it actually doesn't set you up best to understand coding as a whole and everything. These 3 languages are extremely well established. They're all decades old already. And the reason for that, the reason I say that is when you have an issue with one of these languages, you can look it up on Google and find an answer. All right. If you have a Flutter issue and you're like, oh, what is this bug? The chances of you finding a solution are much, much lower than if you're like coding in Java and you're like, oh, this thing happened, because there's just so much more history on the planet regarding these languages. Yeah, and there's also developer communities, and there's so much more resources, so many more books, so many more projects that are out there, so many more open source things, so many more forums. It's older, it's more well established. I mean, I think you get the idea, but I choose these because you should start with these, and then once you have these under wraps, like you've kind of like paid your dues, you've gone through your rite of passage, then you can go like learn Dart and Flutter and Swift and all these cool badass things. Or you can go crazy and go learn C and C++, and do some really crazy high performance computing stuff, so you can like really crunch numbers and do some crazy algorithms and stuff. But that's really advanced. Before you get into that stuff, I'd actually recommend learning other things that are very important in software development. Things like theory, learning algorithms and data structures, which are actually just ideas that we implement in code. It doesn't matter what language you use. Like you can implement like a sorting algorithm in any language. So you're actually going to need those too. You'll probably be learning these along the way as you're learning the languages, but you would probably want to learn those before you learn like 70 languages. If you know these three, like you have like a really strong core, you can probably land a lot of jobs as a freelancer or as a full-time developer, but you want to learn those other things first. So I just go through those really quick so you kind of have like awareness of everything that you need as a software developer. So like I said, you need to know algorithms, which is like sorting. Okay, like how do you sort a list of numbers? Like, oh, you moving the numbers around in which way? You have to know like in your head, like what is the mathematical things you would do, and then you implement it in your code to how to do that. Or another thing is data structures. So like how do you structure your data? So one could just be like a list of numbers is very simple. Okay, just like an ordered list of numbers, like they're in order and they're there together. Or maybe you want to have a tree, which is like you have one number and then you can go down and then there's two numbers connected to that and then you go down more. And then this is how like you could map a family tree or something in this way using a data structure like that. So there's different ways to organize your data. Because like in a list, you could just go straight through and that's pretty much it. But a tree, you could go down like a different specific leg. So it's a very high level explanation of what a data structure is, but you're gonna have to learn these things in order to actually get things done. Like you need to use data structures to implement algorithms, and so they kind of go hand in hand. So you definitely need to know both of those things, all right? And you're also going to want to learn some things like Git. So Git is a thing where you can do version control, and what version control means is when you're working on a big code base on a team or on your own personal project, that whenever you want to have like one working set of code. So like you have this application, whatever it is, a mobile app, an online app, a video game, whatever you're working on, and it works, okay? But like you want to implement a new feature. So when you're starting working on the new feature, you're gonna want to like make a copy of it and then work on it and make sure it's working, and then implement it and then ship it to all the customers or deploy it or something. But now you have two versions of code, you see? So you could actually roll back to this one if the new one gets screwed up. If you make a mistake or something completely crashes, then you have like basically a time machine. Like you can keep going back in your code. So it's a way to like save versions of code. That's why it's called version control. You have control over the version of your code, and using that, you definitely gonna need to know that after you're learning languages. All right, and you're gonna have to know a few other things too. Okay, if you want to be a fully fledged software developer, you're gonna want to learn about dependencies, which is how you like your program is going to require different frameworks and libraries and things that other code that other people have written, and then you're going to have to like import it into your program, because you're not going to write everything from scratch. You just keep reusing like other people's frameworks, other people's libraries, because like you don't want to code everything from scratch. It's kind of silly. But you're going to need to know how to like make sure that this is all correct, so that as a full package, you have like the thing that you worked on, and then all your frameworks and libraries and other pieces of code that you had, and maybe like some images and stuff, and you will know how to like put it all in together into one whole, so that it's an actual full application. So it has everything it needs to run, and then you can actually ship that. So that's like considered a fully shippable application or something. And then with that, of course, you can have like fully built versions in version control like Git, I said earlier. But you're gonna need to know that. And to know that, you're gonna need to know command line. Okay, so what the hell is command line? Command line is a way to talk to the computer. So instead of like, oh, you're like with your mouse and you're clicking on buttons and you're dragging things around, it looks pretty. Command line is like the lowest level way you can talk to your computer. So basically it's like, oh, do this thing, copy this file over here. And this is how computers were run in the 80s. Like you could only use the keyboard and then write certain commands and hit enter. So there's a bunch of different commands. They're very ugly and old looking, but you need to know how to do it. To use Git, you need to know how to do it, to download frameworks, to do this, to do everything. I mean, eventually I think we'll get away from command line, like way down the line, maybe, but actually probably not. It's probably going to be around like to some extent forever. But I mean, like a lot of frameworks you can just download from the website, and it's just like, hey, it's done, it's there. But I mean, a lot of stuff you have to go through command line. So that's a completely own topic on its own. But you're definitely gonna need to know it in addition to programming languages and all the theory and algorithms and data structures, etc. And that's kind of one of the last things. One other thing is APIs. So APIs are just kind of another way to use other people's code online. So like if you want to use YouTube's code, like if you want to make an application that can post YouTube comments manually, like through the program, then you need to like access their API. So it's kind of like a framework, kind of like a library, in the sense that you're using somebody else's code to achieve something, but you're gonna need to learn about APIs as well. So definitely look into that. And the very, very last thing that I want to say is, once you have all this, you're gonna need to know how to write a freaking resume and make a portfolio so that you can get jobs at companies or land clients as a freelancer. All right, so you're gonna need to know how to format your resume. You're gonna need to know how to traverse social media and LinkedIn and stuff like that. How to email people. I mean, you probably have a lot of these skills already if you're just a human that's been on the internet. But just mentioning it, you're gonna need to know that, and you definitely want to build some projects on your own, not school projects. Build your own projects using these languages. Like build a cool website, build a cool full stack web app, build a cool mobile app, build a cool whatever you want, and then just put these into a portfolio. Try to have like one big project that you work on for months and months that can do something amazing, and maybe some small ones, whatever. Just have something together so that you can actually apply everything you've learned and actually get the job to make this useful. Unless you're just doing it for fun, then yeah, screw the resume, screw the job, just have fun coding. But that's pretty much it for the 3 languages that I think you should learn first in that order. So let's go over a quick recap. All right. So the first language you should learn is Python. All right. It's very easy and clean to use. There's nothing you have to worry about, anything very high level. You can implement things very quickly. You can do leak code. You can get jobs at FANG and stuff. You can do web development. Okay. You can do data science. You can do numeric stuff and like number crunching with Python. It's great. Okay. So definitely learn that first. And the second language you want to learn is definitely JavaScript, but you need to learn HTML and CSS before that. Learn it in that order. That makes the most sense. And the reason is because 50% or more of all software developer jobs are web development jobs, and JavaScript is the language of the web. So you are going to want to learn how to make full stack web apps with JavaScript and everything. Okay, there's a lot of frameworks, great frameworks. You can do everything you want with JavaScript, and it makes a killer combo with Python. And then third is Java, so that you gain a better, deeper understanding of how computers actually work, but not too deep so that it's like boring and nasty and too confusing, but just enough so that you're aware of what's actually happening. So you're not just like, hey, run program, make program. You actually have to go into the details and understand stuff. Plus you can get a little bit of mobile development in there, okay? And then all the other stuff I mentioned, like algorithms, data structures, version control, what else did I say? Command line, dependencies, APIs, and resume writing and portfolios, okay? So those are all very important things. Oh, and compiling and stuff too, and like all these ideas. You need to know all of these things to be equipped to be a software developer. So with all that said, that was a lot of information. I'm glad if you got to the end. But now you're kind of equipped with the context that you need to become a software developer and to kind of just pursue your own path. Just take this information and just start. Start with Python. If you have a Mac, it's already downloaded. All right. Or go to the website and download Python 3. Python 2 is going out of, they're like not continuing support soon. So just go to Python 3, figure out if that's downloaded. Use Stack Overflow or something. It's a website where community developers can interact and ask questions. There's a lot of good answers there. Just start. Okay.